Hey guys, today is Marriage Monday and I had a fun idea to talk a little bit about my top 5 most viewed marriage videos. If you're new to my channel, my name is Alana and my channel is all about marriage, homemaking, healthy living, and homeschooling. And every Monday I do a Marriage Monday video. I wanted to talk about these videos because they get a lot of heat. It's really interesting. The top 2 get the most heat and it's kind of funny to me because I didn't see that coming. Number 1 is at 67,947 views, and it is the video titled, How to Make Your Wife Obey You. Yes, I chose a title that would draw attention on purpose, and I guess it worked because it is my top viewed video. Now, what's funny about it is that people go crazy watching the video, but I still agree with everything I said in it. First of all, the reason I made it was because very often I would get messages from men asking me, how can I make my wife think the way you think? And my answer is, that's not the right mentality. The right mentality is, what can I do to be a godly husband? And then the Lord does the rest. So I made the video kind of for husbands to give them a different perspective. We don't need to be thinking about, how can I make my husband be a good leader? How can I make my husband love me better? We need to be thinking, how can I honor Christ in my role as a wife? And husbands should be thinking the same thing. Now, in the video, I do talk about how submission does not equal obedience. I still stand by that. Submission does not equal obey. Sometimes submitting does involve obeying. That is placing yourself under the authority of someone else. And so we've done that because God commands it and because those are the roles and the order in the home. Sometimes submission will involve obedience, but that is just because of the certain or the specific circumstance. For example, if my husband and I are coming to a decision or trying to come to a decision about something in our life, for our family, for our home, whatever, I will express my ideas, my views. He will express his ideas, his views. If we're not on the same page, he gets the final say. And so once he decides, my role as the wife, commanded by God to submit, is to follow him with a trusting, cheerful, submissive heart. And that is submission. That is not in any way obeying. That's just letting him make the final call and then following his decision, supporting him in that. That's submission. Obedience might be necessary if it's not meant to be like a child. If my husband says, hey, sweetheart, I can't even think of an example. Hey, sweetheart, I'm just going to say throw the trash out because that's the only thing that comes to mind right now. But if my husband says, hey, sweetheart, can you throw the trash out right now? And I have every freedom and right to say, man, I can't right now. Can you hold on? Or can you do it? There's nothing wrong with that. That is not a wife being disobedient. That is not an instance where obedience would need to take place to correctly submit to your husband. Now, if there is something specific that your husband asks you not to do anymore, then obedience may be called for. And so you honor him and submit to him by obeying that request. But submit does not equal obey. Something else I talk about in the video is Ephesians 5:21, when it says submitting to one another. It's talking about the church, right? It's talking about Christians. So are Christians supposed to obey each other? No. Christians are supposed to lovingly submit to one another. Submission does not equal obedience. Submission is just putting yourself under someone's authority, dying to yourself, letting someone lead. Your pastors, as church members, we are submitting to, putting ourselves under the authority of our pastors. That is the role model that God has designed. And so even our husbands are submitting to our pastors, our elders. We are submitting to God ultimately. We submit to our husbands. If you're an employee, you submit to your boss because he is your authority in the workplace. So submission is not obedience. Sometimes it involves obedience, but it is not obedience. And so that is the point that I wanted to make in the video. And the reason why I talked about the husband loving the wife the way that Christ loved the church and talked about that and said that it is easier for a wife to submit to and to respect a loving husband. Why is that offensive? I would love to ask the husbands, wouldn't it be easier to love a wife that is submissive and respectful? Sure it would. Isn't it easier to love the way you're commanded to love your wife if she is acting lovable? Isn't it harder to love her if she's acting unsubmissive and disrespectful? Yes. So the same goes for women. It is hard to respect and submit to a man that is not obeying Christ and loving his wife the way he is commanded to love her. So why is that offensive? I am not saying that a wife doesn't need to submit and doesn't need to respect unless her husband is loving her well. No, just like a husband has to love his wife even if she is not respecting him well. So it's always going to be dying to each other, loving each other, and ultimately whether the spouse is acting the way obeying Christ and scripture on what they themselves should be doing, the other spouse is still commanded to obey Christ. So if my husband's being unloving, I'm still commanded to submit and respect. But man, when he's being loving, it is so much easier to do that well because I don't have to fight my emotions so much. And vice versa. When a wife is being respectful and submissive, it is so much easier for the husband to love her well. But when she's being a brat, complaining nag, it is hard for the man to love her well. Still, he's commanded to do so. Still, the wife is commanded to do so. Whoever disagrees with that, I don't know what to say, but that's what I think the scriptures clearly tell us. We have to obey Christ at all costs. Sometimes it's going to be really hard because we're dealing with sinners. And man, when those sinners are acting like spirit-filled believers, it makes it easier. Just like our children, when they are being obedient, it is so easy to be patient and kind and tender and sweet. But then when they're being disobedient, it is really hard to keep your cool. Still, we're commanded to be patient and tender and sweet and kind to them, no matter how they're acting. Because we're Christians, we're obeying Christ first, and we're exemplifying the fruits of the Spirit first. That's all I'll say about that video. Second video, my second most viewed video is Meet Your Husband's Needs, Look Beautiful for Him. 46,509 views. I actually remember filming this video. I was sitting there at that computer, which is now like so old it doesn't even work. And I think it was my third or fourth video ever. So this is like 5 years old already, close to 5.5 years old. And I still agree with the general message. I remember filming the video and I remember the words coming out of my mouth that I could not take back because I couldn't edit back then. I didn't know what I was doing. I would just film and upload with no editing at all. I remember the words coming out where I was kind of delivering the message that I can't believe a wife wouldn't have dinner ready for her husband when he comes home from work. And I remember as they were coming out of my mouth thinking, no, I don't think that. I don't think that. There's so many exceptions. But there was no taking it back. And I don't know why I didn't correct myself in the moment. Maybe because I was so new and fresh at YouTube videos that I felt like I just had to keep going. Well, out of all my videos that I've ever made, that video is like forever imprinted in my head. And that line is forever imprinted in my head as the one line that I wish I can go back and erase. But it's my second most viewed video. I am not gonna erase it. And the other stuff I like and I agree with. Maybe I would deliver it differently if I did it again today, but I still stand by our husbands want us to take care of ourselves. Work with what you've got. You do not have to go and spend crazy money on makeup and clothing and hair to look nice. Work with what you've got. You are beautiful to your husband. You know what he likes. Do what he likes and take care of yourself. I still stand by that. I think our husbands appreciate when we take care of ourselves and when we put effort into looking lovely for them. So I still stand by all that. Number 3 is my testimony and wedding story with 41,047 views. I like this video, but it's a much older video. I much more prefer my video that I made maybe last year or 2 years ago called How I Met My Husband. I really like that one. It says How I Met My Husband story from start to finish, and I just really like the delivery of that video. So I'll put all the links to these plus that one in the description box. The number 4 most viewed marriage video is striving to be a godly wife with 38,934 views. And this video is the second video I ever filmed. And I actually don't like it, but it's very humbling for me to leave it up because I know that people have been richly blessed by it, and it's got so many views. It's obviously helping and blessing others. I just was so new to making videos that I don't like the way that I sound and I'm talking in it, but it's okay. It's not about me, right? So it's humbling, and it's good for me to leave something out there that I feel embarrassed about, because it's not about me. It's about the word, the Lord, and encouraging others. So I leave it up for that reason. And then the fifth most viewed marriage video is what I try to remember each day as a wife and homemaker. And that has 33,167 views. And I love that video. It's very encouraging even to me sometimes. If I watch it, I'm like, oh, how did I say all these things? I forgot all of them already. It's just encouraging, you know, to remember that our joy should be grounded in Christ. He should fulfill us completely. And yes, our husbands and our children bring us joy, but they're going to fail us because they're human. And so nothing will shake us if our ground is Christ, along with some other practical, good truths to stick to and cling to as a wife and homemaker. So check out these videos, my most viewed marriage videos, and I will add the story of how I met my husband in there as well. Thanks so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day, and God bless you all.